All righty. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is a public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission. Today, we're reviewing On-Ramp 2023 Fellowship Project Proposals for the 2023 cohorts. I'm Jordan Adams, the Artist Services Program Manager for the Indiana Arts Commission. Today, we have with us Eric Salazar, full-time musician and 2019 participant of the On-Ramp program. And he is joining us today as co-moderator. Eric, you have the floor.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Eric Salazar. Happy to be here as co-moderator. Today's August 15th, and the panelists are meeting on Zoom, and the public is observing on YouTube. At this time, we would like the panelists and staff to introduce themselves. So let's have your name, what you do, and where you are currently located. Let's go ahead and start with Darren. And Darren is muted at the moment.
Okay. Hi, I'm Darren Redmond. I live in Brown County, Nashville, Indiana, and I make large-scale art quilts. So I'm a textile artist. Thank you.
Awesome. Let's have Chris now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Newell. I am a mainly full-time photographer, specialize in portraiture and fashion and street photography and some gallery work. And I'm currently located in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Awesome. Thank you. And how about Thomas?
Morning, everyone. My name is Thomas Nealand. I'm a multidimensional artist, poet, speaker, and author. I'm located in Brownsburg, Indiana, and I'm also a teaching artist.
Awesome. Thank you. And how about Dee?
Good morning. I'm Dee Del Rivera Jennings. My occupation is I'm an interdisciplinary artist. My practice entails visual, curatorial, and literary. I am also the founder of several organizations in Indiana. I am Indianapolis based, and I am so sorry, but I cannot activate my camera.
Oh.
So please forgive me.
It's all right, Dee. Your voice is gorgeous. I'll pass it back to Jordan now.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This panel is designed to gather feedback that will help the applicant strengthen their fellowship project to advance their career. The discussion will also help IAC staff determine any important modification the applicants need to make to move the project forward. I also will announce the application that we will review. I'll ask the first speaker to begin the discussion. The first speaker will provide advice to strengthen the fellowship project, focusing on the evaluation criteria from their perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since all panelists have read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I'll ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or differing comments. We are not looking for a consensus. We want the applicant to receive excellent advice from the different perspectives that you all bring to the table. After the second reader has finished, I will open the discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or differing viewpoints. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed in the virtual waiting room while the application is discussed. Finally, once the application has begun being discussed by the full panel, we ask the panel to update their comments in the online system. It is common for the recommendations to change because of the broader discussion. These changes save automatically. There's no need to push a save button. Are there any questions? Okay. Seeing that there is none, we will begin. We'll start with the applicant On-Ramp 2023, Sims. Our first speaker is, I believe, Chris. Let me make sure. Yes, Chris. And Chris is not on video with us as well, so you will hear his beautiful voice too.
Thank you. Thank you. My camera's been also kind of finicky and it's been unreliable. So technical difficulties that will get fixed. And thank you again for having me. To start off with this applicant's evaluation, looking at the goals for this project, I believe that the applicant's goals for their creative business goals for essentially for this will be not only identified but also achievable, and I think everything feels pretty reasonable as far as the applicant's capacity and experience to make this a reality. A question I had for the applicant is, since the project idea has the ability to go beyond the scope of the state of Indiana, will it go any further than that? Are there any plans for that? I think that this applicant has something really special, and they should consider that, like, down the line in the future once this application has met its goals. And the feasibility portion of it too. I think that the dates for this project may need to be relooked, only because the applicant said that it was going to be done sooner than what I think it actually should be anticipated, because there was essentially a 3 to 6 to 1 year of responses through a survey that are being conducted to make a final conclusion. And I think that that final conclusion with the right data matters. So that's something that probably should be revisited as far as expectation for having better end results. But otherwise, I think most of everything as far as the feasibility is, it's still achievable, and the estimated expenses seem appropriate as well. We're looking at the community engagement for the applicant Sims. I think that the community engagement is pretty spot on. Everything they have listed for their day-to-day goals looks like it makes sense as far as an order and what is supposed to be achieved. I think that there's a 3-day objective that they're going by from what I am looking at. And within the 3rd day, I guess a question I have would be, since there is a faith-based aspect to this application, the other 2 days, the first 2 days, don't seem like they don't have anything straight up essentially faith-based, but the 3rd day is. And I'm wondering if the 3rd day has a faith-based version for diversity inclusion reasons. I think that a lot of people, really anybody, can benefit from this applicant's goals. But I think that 3rd day is very faith-based, which is not a problem at all. But I just wanted to verify if that is something that the applicant thought about, because I think, once again, it can be open to anybody. And the fact that it's faith-based is something that's tied to the applicant, which is personal. And I think that they should continue doing that, because they shouldn't stray away from something that is special to them and is part of the project and the objective. But because more people can be included, maybe just the rewording of that last day could be something to consider, but it's not mandatory. And yeah, I think as far as the evaluation on my end, everything seems pretty spot on. I'm very happy for the applicant.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Our second reader is Dee.
Yes, I think the applicant provided excellent information. I felt that she expressed her project's intent to help individuals to comprehend healthy mental well-being in her community and beyond. I did feel that she used a lot of dialogue that did not showcase what her initiative is. In other words, what you want to be concise and to your point. What would benefit you more in your response to the narrative that was asked, to explain the in-depth details of your big picture, your vision of what your creative career goals and business goals are, how you'll make it happen, and your target audience. But other than that, I felt like it was, they were all realistic goals. The feasibility, the budget is in line with the projected cash expenses and the projected cash income. And I felt that it was easy, it was clear and very easy to comprehend. I would have preferred to have hard dates and times, as Chris had said, for the events, but otherwise the timeline and the other information is reasonable. Community engagement, she articulates well how it will help her to attain a wider network and create relationships outside of her current connections. And I feel this will benefit her career and her business in the long run.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dee.
You're welcome.
And now we'll open the floor if there are any differing comments for Sims. Okay, seeing we have none, I will allow our panelists to update their comments in the online system. Eric, you can let me know when you're ready for the next applicant too.
Save the notes on my end, so I'm ready.
Okay, our next applicant is On-Ramp 2023 Williams. Our first reader is Darren.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Well, I typed up notes, so excuse me for reading, but Audrey Jo is a bassist and a music teacher and a conductor for orchestra musicians. She has some long-term career goals, which I think are wonderful. I think this is the best, one of the best cities to have this project because there are so many musicians in Bloomington with Indiana University, Bloomington Symphony. I think she wants to have a project that will not only make improvements to her studio, but she's creating a community with the musicians. Now there's more community outside just her musicians, it's their audience. So this is potentially will have a big impact on the community. And you probably think, oh, you know, School of Music, IU, they already have an orchestra now. Well, there's other people out there who maybe over the age of 50 would like to play in her orchestra and take lessons from her. So I have experience with that. So it's just not about improving their studio, it's creating a community. And I'm excited for her for this project. And that's all.
Thank you so much, Darren. Our second reader is Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. So for this application, for the goals, well, let me start with what I appreciate. I appreciate the fact that this applicant not only wants to expand her music studio, but also provide opportunity for the youth to harness their gifts as well, and also extend that to the older populations. So in terms of the goals that I saw here, they seem to all have said the same thing, which I think might be a great thing that they're in line. But I would have loved to see some varying language in the goals section, meaning like, is there a story behind behind the goals? Like, how did the goals come to be? How did this come about? Like, where did the passion start? And I think for me, wanting to see that storytelling element would have been great in the goals, rather than just telling us what the goals are. I like to see the story behind it, because if you get out into the community and you're pitching this to someone else, they may want to have those personal points as well to help anchor them to the cause. for feasibility, I thought that there was a surefire plan to build a new music studio. I didn't think that any additional details were needed for that. She was very meticulous in her process of the timeline in terms of like getting the permits and the demolition and the whole process. So I didn't see anything wrong with that. In terms of community, I think she was spot on. She's clearly in the community building these relationships with, with youth, with adults. And I guess just a creative tidbit here. I'd be interested in seeing like how those live performances create like hero qualities in this studio. So like how the participants of these workshops and classes, how this makes them come alive, and how you may best depict them in their element in terms of like data points and results. And then another little creative tip, maybe a Tiny Desk-esque showcase for your local participants would be a cool thing to explore once you have the studio up and running. So
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
I will open the floor to any differing comments. Okay, seeing that we have none, I will allow the panelists to update their comments in the online system. And as always, Eric, you can let me know when you're ready too.
Good. I'm ready.
All righty. We will move to our next applicant. On-ramp 2023 Schwartz. Our first reader is Thomas. Thomas, you're muted.
Sorry. With this application, I think that the goals were well thought through. I thought they were reasonable. And this is on the basis, perhaps, that the applicant might have additional funding to supplement the requested 2,000. My only concern with these goals is that I'd like to know more about why this art form is so important to the applicant. I immediately identify how these goals impact the business and like those relationships. But I guess through the goals, I'd like to see how they impact the community on a deeper level. And like, what does it mean to bring people into this pottery studio? What do they take away from it? And how do they essentially become the hero, if you will, in this project? In terms of feasibility, I saw the project as feasible, but again, with the view that with the $2,000 budget, it may be helpful to consider additional areas of funding. I think about the expenses that may incur from applying to jury shows, the booking vendor tables for events, that may take a chunk out of the grant funding. And then there's like buying supplies to continue creation, and then expenses for like marketing, things like that. So I wonder how much of external funding is going to help supplement this project in terms of feasibility. Otherwise, I think that the goals at least make the project feasible. In terms of community engagement, again, just going back to this idea of storytelling, I'd like to see more of the narrative behind how the art form will impact the community. And for example, maybe consider the following questions like, what problem does your art form address and or solve? What is at stake for the community if you do not, or if you were to not have everything that you needed for this grant? And then how would the community grow because of the access to the art form that you have? So.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
I believe our second reader is Darren.
Yes.
You muted.
Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Well, this again reminds me of the previous Audrey Joe, where he wants to make improvements to his studio, his art space. so he can share it with the public and maybe create a bigger community. But there's been this type of project here in Brown County, and it was called Clay Day, and the potter is still very successful as making a living at creating pottery. So it reminded me of him. This potter has created lots of collectors and community. So he's even on a commercial for public television. But anyway, I agree with Thomas for his goals. I think the only thing I was wondering is I can't remember if Brandon was in this tour, Michiana Pottery Tour last year, and how many numbers. I didn't see numbers of people, the number of customers he was getting last year, or if he was even involved in the tour. And so I was wondering how he could judge whether this year was successful compared to last year. So I'd like to see maybe some more numbers for how many people in his community he's engaging in this pottery day or weekend. I think that's all I have. Oh, I wish him luck with the custom coffee mugs. I've seen them before, and there again, people in Brown County are making custom mugs for businesses, and they have a pretty good income from it. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Darren. We are going to move to our next applicant. We do have a panelist with a conflict of interest. So at this time, we're going to remove Thomas as we discuss on ramp 2023 Janz. Awesome. And so our first reader for Janz is Dee.
Okay, for on-ramp 2023 Janz, I think he has a pretty good project. It appears to be feasible. It's just a lot of money that he's going to have to acquire. But I do like that. I've seen his cookbook before. I have seen videos that he's produced, and I've heard his music. And I think that he's quite capable of completing his initiative or his proposed project initiative. As far as his goals, I think he's reasonably defined them in pursuit of his career development and his business development. I think his final works and success in his career is going to be rather, laborious to accomplish, because he's going to have to come up with the money for the project itself. His project narrative clearly explains how hard he will work to accomplish the goals that he has described. I agree with the need to stop the distractions and associated behaviors that have become a thing when people are having a meal with their phones or any other type of technology, because eating is supposed to be a pleasant, calming experience, not one in which everything else is priority. The feasibility of Jan's project is that his prior experience with this, he's been doing this for a while now. And I believe in 2021, he was giving away, as a way to promote his book, his first book, I believe it was, he was giving away books at the Garfield Park market. So he's looking to get a team together, put a team in place, which can be reasonably carried out within the allotted time frame. And the budget aligns with the projected cash expenses and the cash income. And I do believe that it's a manageable endeavor. As far as community engagement, like I said, I believe it's an ambitious goal to accomplish. But I feel that he has a good perspective on everything and what it'll take to bring his book to publication. And with the assistance that he will utilize, the audience, the sponsors, and the events and venues that he is anticipating participation in, it should be feasible. He articulates how his proposed project will benefit his career and the public, and it will help to connect him even more so with the community. I think he's got a lot of content online. It's very interesting and relatable. And I believe he's quite popular in the community. And he also likes to add little bright, inspirational words, but this is state funding. It's a state funding source. And, you know, you could be a little bit more professional in your narratives. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Dee.
You're welcome.
Did you have anything else to add?
No, I think it's feasible. I think he has a very good application.
Okay.
Can I just interject one thing? So I have a personal connection with Clockwork, so I'm aware that Clockwork uses they, them pronouns.
Okay.
And in our current system, just for transparency, in our current system, we don't have a field for applicants to enter their correct pronouns. So I would just remind everyone here that if you're not sure, refer to the applicant by their first name or last name, or use neutral language like this applicant.
Thank you, Eric. Okay. Our next reader for Clockwork is Chris.
Yes, so after reviewing this applicant's information, I mean, based on the examples that I've seen in the cookbook and everything that he's put together for the goal itself, for this project, I think that it's achievable, and there's a lot of different great meals to choose from. A big thing is that I thought about, because I don't really know much about the community that he's from and the type of food that's available, but since it's being sourced from there, I think about the concepts of food deserts. That's a very important thing. So to source locally, I think it's like a huge attribute to the book that I think will really push his goals to a higher level, which I'm excited to see. I think that the theme for the cookbook incorporates a lot of great cultural aspects that can also contribute to a 5 to 10 year goal to come into fruition. So like what Dee was saying, these long-term goals, although it's going to be kind of tedious to get to those things, I believe is also feasible, and I'm excited to see how that turns out. Having different types of merchandise to sell with these cookbooks to go in hand with musical concepts, just for the fun of musical lovers of Indianapolis and your community, because Indy is a close nearby city. I think that would provide awareness and education for people that don't know much about music, and also good marketing for the project itself to span out. I think with that, the feasibility, each of the points that the applicant needed to achieve are met, between estimated expenses and if it's manageable. All of that seems pretty feasible. However, I think the estimated time for the project, incorrect date may have been inputted because it ends before it starts. So that's something to, like, when the applicant fills out another application to the future, just make sure that the dates align with the standard on the application. And then as far as the community engagement, I mean, I think it's very very intertwined with the community, between the markets, the partners, organizations, individuals are all going to be affiliated with the project. It feels like there is a lot of conversation that you have to have and start from, since it's going to be locally sourced to begin with. And it feels like a lot of planning has been involved for the opportunity. And I can't wait to see how everyone benefits from this. And as a music lover myself, I really do think that it's a very interesting concept. And I think that with the examples provided, the portfolio, the resume, all of it feels like it's going to be a good quality. So I'm not worried for the applicants' 5 to 10 year goals. And I think that the main goal now will be at a great place.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
I'll open the floor for any different comments.
Yes, I noticed that the dates too were, I think maybe the applicant just had a typo, and maybe in the future they could have someone proofread it, or maybe have more than one person proofread it. That might be helpful.
Thank you, Darren. Alrighty. I'll allow everybody to update their comments in the online system. You ready, Eric? Okay. And we will bring Thomas back for our next applicant.
Hey, Thomas.
Righty. And so our next applicant is on ramp 2023 Tuder. Our first reader is Chris.
Thank you. This project sounds exciting. And I'm happy to hear that they're pursuing art full time. I think as a small note, and they may already be doing this, but I think a beneficial portion to the business that this applicant has, providing a short talk about what NFTs are, since that's something that's affiliated with their business, would be really great to have, considering that there's not a lot of people that know what NFTs are, or let alone how to make one, because the market is so it has a huge influx of people trying to get in. It feels really what's the word? It feels really competitive or prestigious to try to get into that realm. And so for people to have a breakdown of how to get into that, I think would just be very beneficial. And how to make their own NFTs as well, because I think that educating and then having someone have a takeaway with that would just feel like it's more, it makes like a closer relationship essentially with the business goal, as well as the teaching and the relationship that you make with the individuals that approach the opportunity. The feasibility, I think that each of the points for the feasibility for this project are achievable, and estimated expenses are appropriate and reasonable. The project seems manageable, since they've already been kind of on this boat and doing what they've been doing. So I think that there won't be any issues there. I think that the community engagement also feels very involved, and the amount of effort needed to push for their marketing outreach as well and gathering volunteers shows this. I believe this applicant is doing like a 3-day event. And so the community engagement feels it goes hand in hand. And so I think that, yeah, everything on here feels thoughtfully explored.
Thank you, Chris. All right, our second reader is Dee.
Okay. Excuse me. I'm very familiar with Derek with on-ramp 2023 Tuder. I'm sorry. And His projects are very good. He's starting to make a good inroad in Indianapolis. I did find a contradiction though. His project timeframe dates. The start is 3/15/2024 and end 3/17/2024. But that statement contradicts his statement that says these events will occur from April through September, especially 1 to 2 weekends each month. Okay, so that's my only, that's the only flaw I see in his application. The applicant's goals were identified and I believe they'll help him to achieve his desired career and business goals. I feel he's capable of carrying out his proposed project because he has prior experience and engaged his initiative with the community. He has good documentation, realistic descriptions, including images of his work and the events. And he's also listed a good detailed information about his material and technical needs, which will help him to attain success. He seems to feel that the Butler Tarkington neighborhood is unaware of art and activity and creativity, but there's a number of organizations and groups that have presented different events over there. So his work and his initiative would be an additional attribute to that community. And he should look how he's, look more at how he presents the way that he puts that information into his narrative. He needs to make sure that he aligns his event dates correctly. And there is another thing, the projected cash income and the projected cash expenses, where he says unforeseen costs paid by me and volunteers' meals paid by me. They should have been put either in kind or the projected cash expenses. So I think that needs revision.
Did you have anything else to add, Dee?
No, I feel that he understands his targeted audience and the proposed project is realistic, manageable, and it can be facilitated as Tuder has the experience and the initiative to do so. It's just that those couple of things need revision.
Definitely. Thank you, Dee.
You're welcome.
I will interject, and this is for all applicants. There may be some budget items that you all have to revise, and so we'll give you that feedback at the conclusion of this. I will say that as far as income, if the expenses exceed the grant amount of $2,000, then other funding sources, whether it be other grants or personal contributions, are fair, but they need to be tied to a specific amount. Okay, and so we'll discuss all that at the conclusion. Okay, did anybody else have any differing comments for Tuder?
I did, very briefly. I thought, and this is in response to Dee, I thought that the projected dates for the initial event, I thought that was just like the first example of what he would do, and then the through April and 1 to 2 weekends per month. I thought that just served as like the prototype for the rest of them.
But that was not stated.
Right. So I agree with you in that sense, because I think that it could be messaged, like the messaging could be tweaked to reflect that. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
I will state too, with those dates, while those 3 dates are for the event itself, and Derek will discuss this too. The work leading up to the event is a part of the project as well. So we'll want to include all of that time in the project dates too. Okay. Any other differing comments? Okay. I'll allow everybody to update their comments in the online system. All righty, we're moving to the next applicant, which is On-Ramp 2023 Grams. Our first reader is Darren.
Yes, Diane Grams is involved in the art scene already in Michigan City, South Bend, and Lafayette. She is has an extensive list of exhibits, so I think her goals are I think this project is feasible because of her past exhibits, and she wants to improve her fresco samples so she can secure private and public commissions. I'm excited to see this. Her goal is to better illustrate her fresco painting with videos, and she wants to extend or expand her studio supplies. I think her goals were the best written that I've seen in a lot of years. There are 5 of them. They're well designed, they're well detailed. She explains the process that she uses to create her art in the goals. I could see and feel Diane's passion for her art in this application. It was really well written, I believe. She has a social media presence now, and I believe her past experiences will make her successful at making these new fresco samples and presenting them to the community. She is Diane wants to update the website. I'm excited to see this too. And her timeline is well designed. Diane's researched her supplies needed to create these samples. This proves to me that she really is involved in her art and knows her art, knows how long it takes her to complete tasks. And I believe her goals are well defined. I keep saying that. I think she can reach the goals, and I think she can secure new commissions, public and private. She has a network in place now, and I think it's exciting that Diane has secured mentors. I'm familiar with one of them. One of them is Jamie. He's a long arm quilting teacher, so I'm sure he will be able to mentor her well. He has a presence on YouTube, and he teaches all over the country. So Jamie will be a great mentor for Diane. But I'm happy to see that Diane has her mentors donating in-kind hours, so then she can spend the grant money on the supplies she needs to secure the new commissions for her frescoes. And I think that's all I have for Diane. Really excited for her.
Thank you, Darren. Our next reader is Thomas.
Yeah, Darren, you gave a great analysis of this project. I agree with you on the goals and the feasibility. It is very clear that this applicant has the experience to achieve this goal. I had thoughts about, although I think that the community engagement part is also great, I had a question about it. So in the application, the artist says that there will be conversations with collectors, architects, designers, and builders. And we also know that there are going to be like workshops in the future at some point. But I guess I would have loved to see what one of those workshops would look like. And, you know, I know that there is a Patreon community. So there's like this online presence, social media presence. And there will be like exhibits and things like that. But what kind of conversations will be had with those people who are outside of that scope, who may want to explore it, versus just the people who are naturally associated with this art form. Or so, looking at like what exactly would a workshop look like, what would be the outcomes for community members, both those who are within the discipline and outside. So consider those things as you explore this project.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have any differing comments?
Yes, I think that, and it's a positive note. I think that's just another one of those projects based off my comments. Materials are being locally sourced. I feel very fond of something that's coming from the community or just from the state of Indiana. I think that that's like a great use of resources, and it just goes to show other things that Indiana can offer that can be beneficial to art making. And it's just really thinking outside the scope. So kudos to the applicant doing that.
Definitely. Thank you, Chris. Any other comments? All righty, I'll allow everyone to update their comments in the online system. All righty, we'll move to our next applicant, on-ramp 2023 Swartzentruber. And our first reader is Thomas. Thomas, you're muted.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that. So I really appreciated this applicants. I didn't really have too many critical notes here for the applicant. I thought that the goals were straightforward and easy to understand. The goals weren't, super decorated. The main goals being to have this well-edited script and a fully illustrated chapter seemed to be a great goal for an author, and to present this to an agent or publisher. In terms of feasibility, I thought this was a project that's not too lofty, but it definitely allows for accurate measurement of results. And so in this, I'm confident in the applicant's ability to follow through. There were a couple of areas where I think the applicant may want to revisit in terms of like, as we mentioned a little earlier in our own conversation about the cost of the editors who will review these materials. I wonder about the exploration of additional funding for that and what that may look like, because editors can get lofty depending on how long you spend time with them and whether major revisions need to happen. And then in terms of community engagement, I think that it's clear it involves the voices of those who will be reflected in the larger work. And then as an added note, I would, once this project is complete, I would consider maybe working towards an empowerment event of some sort, or a panel discussion that allows for a deeper understanding of the collective work.
Awesome, thank you, Thomas. I believe our next reader is Darren.
Okay, are we on Michael?
No, we're on Dawn.
Dawn.
Dawn Swartzentruber.
Oh, yes, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you correct me, Jordan? Is it Michael, or is that his first name, or this applicant's name?
Last name Swartzentruber.
Okay, I want to call him Schwartz. He has a primary creative work in writing and illustrating a graphic novel. I was excited to see that this applicant is an artist and a novelist, and just very creative person, I believe. They want to continue to exhibit past and artwork, and they want to exhibit future artwork, and that was some of their goals. When Thomas is speaking about community engagement, I hope that the community engagement will be with his speaking engagements. And I can't remember if I read where, if he had maybe projected how much he was going to charge for speaking engagements. Then it's also exciting to see that the applicant wants to transition out of teaching. And I think his timeline's very detailed, and I think they can stay on track. And I think they'll have success with the novel and the illustrations. He wants to wants the grant project for researching the fees for editors. I haven't seen where they applicants were asking for money for editors before. So as before we went live, I was asked some other panelists what they thought, and they thought, yes, hiring editors will help in the creativity of the book, and they will help build a team to make the art and the book happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Do we have any differing comments?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dee.
In his summary, I would have liked if he would have elaborated a bit more about your overall proposed project, what it is about, and who it will benefit for the website description, because the description of your summary is so short, and it's all about you and what you're doing. So you could, flesh it out a bit more. That's the first thing that will be published publicly. I also did not see a specific long-term timeline. But other than that, I think his project is an awesome project and has realistic goals, and it will definitely assist, after being finalized, will assist in his career accomplishment. And just to note, with your book being over 250 pages, hiring a developmental or a line editor will probably run you about $1,500 to $3,000.
Mm.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Dee.
Mhm.
We definitely appreciate that feedback.
You're welcome.
Any other different comments? All righty, I'll allow everybody to update their comments in the online system. We're about halfway through our applications. I want to check on my panelists to see if they need a break, refill water,
Mhm.
bathroom break, anything.
No.
Want to keep powering through?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all righty. Well, we'll move to our next applicant, which is On-Ramp 2023, Ollen. Our first reader is Dee.
Okay. On-Ramp 2023, Ollen. I feel that the applicant's proposal hits right at home with me. Her desire to improve her professional presence and the need for a more conducive and workable space to create in is very admirable. The second part of her proposed project shows her understanding that in order to grow her career and business, she needs to expand her present reach with a branded website and social media. I feel that her goals are reasonable and realistic. The narratives were well written and concise. She also provided sharp, well-taken work sample images of her work, which were on her website link. I felt, let me see, her goals were very good, and they'll undoubtedly help her in her career pursuit. She gave a good explanation of her long-term goal. Her summary explained exactly what she was wanting to do and her initiative to do it. There was one thing, her introductory response to Q1, September, November major tasks, form community advisory group with the initial consultation with an agent. That was the first time in your narratives that you had mentioned anything about consulting an agent. What type of agent and why you need to consult one. But there's no previous reference until the final narrative. You needed to include that a bit earlier on. She understands her targeted audience and the major tasks that need to be implemented. She also stated additional allies, platforms, materials, they are all noted. And you're 3 cents over on your fellowship funds.
Oops.
You were right there and went just 3 cents over. And let me see your community engagement. I think it's a very good application. And it will assist in building her mutually beneficial relationships and create ongoing opportunities for this applicant and additional connections outside of her existing networks with potential customers in the community, bring awareness to what she's doing, and also with the addition of a branded online and e-commerce platform, she'll have greater success outside of her current enterprise. Okay. I don't have
Yeah.
anything else.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for all of that, Dee.
You're welcome.
She definitely would appreciate it. Our next reader is Chris.
Yes, I think that the overall goal for the project is understandable and obtainable for this applicant, and especially by the application deadline. What I've observed with the Julie work, it's fantastic. I'm a fan of it, and I honestly can't wait to see more pieces from this project. I think deriving from I believe the applicant said like who they are and their personality is a really great start, especially just as an artist alone. I think that's something that is great to mention in an application. I also like the personal touch that each of the pieces are crafted from a personal experience in mind. And so I would say like, as far as the application, I think that's great. As far as like, as an artist, like from artist to artist, I would love to see that challenged more. Not that those goals aren't being hit, but just for the sake of one day you may be asked to give a talk about it, or as your clientele grows, like having more of an explanation on how that works out, not necessarily needing to explain your personal experiences, because sometimes those can be maybe too personal, or you may not feel like open to share about that. But giving an example, I think would just be really interesting, and also something that wouldn't hurt an application. I think the feasibility for this is very manageable. I liked how everything for the materials listed was precise, and it was very accurate for what it feels like is needed for the project to be a reality. So that was good. The community engagement, I love that the community engagement feels very close-knit, and the accessibility for the artist to make the pieces for the application between like reaching out to individuals that they haven't met yet, and hearing about maybe other people's stories and having us all be a part of the process. I think that the progression of this applicant's journey will be taken to the next level, and as time goes on, I think it will be really great to see what happens next. Feel like I had something to say about their end result as far as their website and product images. I think that the applicant pretty much had it covered. Whatever I had listed on the side, I can't seem to find at the current moment, but yeah, overall good things. And I'm excited for this application.
Thank you, Chris. Any different comments? Okay. Chris, I was trying to see if I saw anything that you had. I don't. Okay. Well, I will allow everybody to update their comments in the online system. Alrighty, we will move to our next applicant, on-ramp 2023 Landry. Our first reader for this applicant is Chris.
Yes, and I want to start with this applicant's where is it? Loading issues on my end. Okay. The creative business goals, or the creative business goals. I think that this person had a well-written explanation for everything that they were looking to achieve. So as like going into this application, I was excited to see that there is a 5 and 10-year plan. I think that it's great to shoot for like a higher level of where this application can be a starting ground. I think that that's always great to incorporate. And taking a number of like personal like stories to create short stories out of is very interesting. So I think that that ties in very well with the community engagement, which I'll circle back to. But overall, the goal for this project feels very achievable. And I have the confidence that the project is going to be successful. I think the timeline feels very feasible as well. So I'm making sure, so I wanted to view one more time. I didn't have much to say about the feasibility because I think that it's so close to the deadline of when the project needs to end that this applicant's using all the time they need. So I think that it will definitely be feasible. And then, wow, technology is not liking me right now. Okay. And in community engagement, I think the only thing I didn't see as far as the community engagement is potentially presenting like public readings in a way. I think that something that would be a benefit is by marketing the book, visiting like universities that have art programs or that are art universities within the state of Indiana, because this could essentially explain and enlighten like freshmen and sophomores, people who are going into the same field of work, to basically talk about your experiences as in the real world as an illustration artist. A lot of the times when people go to school, I find that sometimes seeing how it works in the real world isn't always a visited topic when learning about becoming an artist. That's both through personal experience and also through many people that I've met that have gone through either a graduate and sometimes undergraduate and sometimes a graduate program where you go through all the schooling and then you don't really know how it's supposed to work. So I always think that, like, especially in the educational field, like explaining presenting your experience to others can be very beneficial to aspiring artists. But that would be helpful for your marketing and also for educating individuals and kind of expanding your clientele. So I think that that's something that could be used to your advantage. Other than that, I think the application is pretty good.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Our next reader is Dee.
Okay. Oh, no, I decided I wanted to do that. Okay, it's not acting up anymore. I don't think.
You're trying to pull up your comments.
No, it's the internet.
Oh.
Okay. I would have liked for OnRamp 2023 applicant Landry to have included a few more descriptions of where she would anticipate participation, because there was nothing specific mentioned in particular. She had very good documentation, descriptions, images of her work, but she also had a very good long-term career or business goals with insight on existing audiences, connections and relationships, and ones that she would like to achieve further on in her project. The feasibility of her proposal was very good. I think it can be reasonably carried out within the allotted time frame. The applicant's main creative work and pursuit of career is very evident. She explained how she can acquire greater interest, connection, and support from organizations, colleagues, allies, supporters. And she also listed the technical and material needs that she will need to help her to attain success with her project goals. I feel that it appears to be a manageable endeavor. Her budget, the estimated budget, is in line with her projected cash expenses and the income. Her community engagement. It would, like I said before, it would have been good to list some of the events and venues and the timeframes that the applicant is anticipating. I feel she'll have a great degree of interaction and engagement with people as she collects personal stories and interviews in the Ohio River Valley, the southern region. It's a very interesting project to me because people have so many stories and they never get to tell them. And basically, that's all I have. I feel it's a very good project. It'll be beneficial to her career.
For sure. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you.
Do we have any differing comments? Okay, I will allow everybody to update their comments. Awesome. We will move to our next applicant. This is OnRamp 2023 Ali. Our first reader is Darren.
Yes. Ali received a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in Iraq in 2010. Then he moved to the United States and he received a Master's of Fine Art in Pennsylvania, Marywood in Pennsylvania in 2017. He lives and works in Bloomington, so he's in my region. He also has many solo exhibits and group shows in Pennsylvania, Indiana, Maryland, New York, Italy, and Iraq. So I believe he will be successful in this project. He sounds like he already has a community established now with artists and the public. He's been a gallery manager in Bloomington and at Indiana State. He created an outreach program in northern Iraq for children expressing their refugee living situation through art and creativity. I would like to see that here. I think that would be a good future project for our Ali. That sounded exciting. It's a great past for him. Ali's past experiences in art make this project manageable for him, I believe. I believe there's a very impressive work of art on Ali's website now. I got to visit that. And I appreciate his explanation of the history of his past and his native country's past, where the United States was involved. And I could see that and read that in his application. And this project's called Manufactured Democracy Project. It is where he wants to make these light boxes, and then he puts paper over them, and he wants to represent the people who voted in the Iraq democratic elections in 2005. And I have a friend in Brown County. Her daughter was a helicopter pilot, and at one time she was flying voting boxes in Iraq to a certain spot, but I don't know if this was the same election that she was involved in. I was trying to find out. The names of these people that voted. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's something else. Never mind, forget I said that. Okay, so then Ali moved to Indiana in 2013, and he wants to exhibit this project around the state. I hope, hopefully he'll be successful. I think he will be. I hope he gets a large audience in attendance at these exhibits. And he's asking for support for materials and transportation cost and carpenter's fees. And he wants to revisit the images of the Iraqi first election called the Purple Fingers. And that was in 2003. The only little tweak I see maybe for his application is there's already artwork titled on his website, Manufactured Democracy. So I didn't know if this was for new light boxes representing more people, or if or if he wants to maybe remake additional light boxes. That's the only question I had. And that's all.
Thank you, Darren. Our next reader is Thomas.
Yeah, so I'll start with Darren's last question. I think that like creating these additional light boxes would like enhance the project, like to like spread the impact of that work.
Then there'll be 40 to 50.
Right, yeah, right. So it'll be, he'll have a great number of light boxes to work with. But in terms of the application, I thought the project was outstanding. I love the history and the goal behind it. I also think that this project, when completed, will spark a lot of conversations that should be had, and may help to settle the dust, if you will, on some of these conversations that for some people are very uncomfortable. So I appreciate the willingness to move forward with this project and be passionate about it. With that said, I think that this project is feasible. On the overview, I see that there is an in-kind expense of $2,000 for the Bloomington Art Commission. I didn't know if that was I was kind of confused because it has like the value of $2,000 on it, and just wondering if that is going to actually be contributed to like the total like cost, or is this just like a free commission that he's putting out there? I was kind of confused on that a little bit. In terms of community engagement, I think that the data that he's collecting, the research that he's doing, is going to be good again to spark conversations across the state, and I think it will improve the longevity of this project to go even further than the state and where it has been before. So,
Thank you, Thomas. Do we have any different comments?
I do. I just want to start off in saying I was very impressed by this applicant's resume and portfolio. I think that there is a lot of there's a lot to back this project as far as the research, the amount of time, and the quality that's been put into the practice to make this project happen. I just really want to touch on the community engagement because I think that it is great. And but like what Thomas was saying, that there is a lot of uncomfortable conversations. And I think that those can be challenged a little bit more. I think that as far as community engagement goes, something that might be put into play, since there's this political aspect within the conversation, is that maybe presenting these conversations and these talks at like art galleries or showings, or maybe even an example would be like a university that has both like an art or poli-science program. I think that those would be really interesting because it takes hand in hand really the idea of like how to use your voice as an individual in a country where you have the option to say what you want to say. And this art project is very emotional, it's very strong. And so I think that with everything being said, that's something that I would love to see just for their portfolio, really. But in the application, I think that also would be something that'd be strong too. Not that it's needed, because I think the application is strong already, but something that would just be nice to see.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Any other viewpoints?
I agree with the other jurors. I feel that the project itself, the concept of it, is an enhancement of what he's done previously, and it is very intriguing in a number of ways. And I believe that it will be very impactful. So yeah, I think he has an excellent proposed project.
Thank you, everyone. I'll allow everybody to update their comments in the online system. Alrighty, we will move to our next applicant, which is On-Ramp 2023 Buteyn. Apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. Our first reader is Thomas.
yeah, I think like for me, this was one of the most developed project proposals that I went through. I love the idea. I'm going to start with community because I think there's just a lot to be said about it. So I think that this applicant is creating a space for those who identify as parents and or caretakers. This allows for a deeper sense of connection and purposeful recollection of memory and outlooks on life. I had a suggestion that I'll add in here in terms of community for research purposes, looking into the Gratriarchs program that took place in Indianapolis with artist Kayla Austin, to like, and how she like went about having these conversations with people from the community who contributed to Indianapolis in a great way. In the context of looking at how we create this art and have these conversations around like caretaking and being parents and things like that. I also think in terms of feasibility, The project can be completed in the proposed timeframe. The applicant plans to build a base of community connections and bookstores within a 3.5-hour drive. And this will amplify the applicant's presence across the Midwest, which I think is great also in terms of building community. And then the goals were clear. I think they align with community and the uplift of the same, namely for those in parental roles and those especially who are caretakers. I think that there is a great storytelling element in this application about why this work is important, why she feels that she needs to go out and expand. And it seems like the community is at the forefront versus seeing more of like accomplishments, and
Mhm.
there's a lot less I and a lot more we in this application, which I appreciate.
Thank you, Thomas. And Kayla is actually a past on-ramp participant as well. Our next reader is Darren.
Yes, Kaylan's mom and a blogger now. She has 13,000 Instagram followers. So I think her experience working with the community and attracting attention is she already has this in place now. Kaylan wants to buy a newsletter software and Flowdesk subscription for online newsletters. And she wants to have 4 public exhibits in the next 4 years. I'm also a textile artist, so I can relate to what she is going through. But I think it will be successful. I think she's successful now. And I think the 4 solo exhibits or group exhibits, I don't know if she said which one, I think it's doable in 4 years. Because once you create a body of work, now you can propose it to different places. Something I would want to see, though, in her application is maybe if she had researched exhibit spaces for textile art in Indiana and possibly surrounding states. Not every gallery, not every art center can or is interested in textile art. I think if she could go out and research that a little bit more, that might be helpful for her future. Let's see. I thought it was interesting that she has the Artist Mother podcast, and now she's sharing interviews with other working artists who are mothers. So she's already built a community and built a network. And so I'm excited to see this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any differing comments or viewpoints?
Yes. I felt that she had a very well laid out project, but I just thought it was a little odd when the statement was made, I will not be sharing 100% of this process, but I think other artists and collectors will find interest in my strategies for growing my network. Okay, well, we are artists. The jurors are artists. And the more in-depth the information, the easier it is for us to see the whole of your vision.
Yeah.
So we're not on the panel to snatch concepts. We're on the panel to understand what you really, truly want to do. And here's another tip. In introducing your artwork to gallerists, it's best to do it by contacting them through email, sometimes by phone. A lot of gallerists do not like, or dealers, they don't like impromptu appearances. You know, they might have other things to do or whatever, but a lot of them don't like that. And many people don't understand that and they don't know. But that is something, and nowadays with everything that's so, you know, tense and compacted, it's best to contact them first before you just appear. And then also have your website in a professionally presented PDF file. to immediately send it to them after you've made that first base touch with them. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Dee.
She had a very, very good application.
Thank you so much.
I have another tip for Kaylan. I went online to research a cancer center in Lexington, Kentucky. And down at the bottom, it says, oh, we have art. Well, it says, fill out this form here. So I filled out the form and presented, in a few sentences, hi, I would like to, talk to you about exhibiting my art. They have several galleries in this hospital. Well, 3 days later, someone contacted me and says, oh, we want to have an exhibit for, with just your art in our chapel. So I think going online, applying for every call for art that's out there, getting to know the galleries and hospitals would be a good experience.
Yeah,
Definitely. Thank you, everybody. I'll allow everyone to update their comments in the online system. Awesome. We will move to our next application. On-Ramp 2023 Rees. Our first reader is Dee.
okay. I'm rolling it up. Let's do. Okay, Rees. On-Ramp 2023 Rees. Okay. This is the applicant with the woodblock prints, and I researched them and their work is gorgeous. I think that the applicant has clear and very reasonable goals. Their narratives were well written and easily explained. The images, as I said earlier, are beautiful. They have previous experience in relation to their project. Their career goals, their career and creative and business goals are all identified. And it will, if the project is brought to fruition, it will definitely be an asset in the pursuit of accomplishment in their career. The feasibility of this applicant's submission is reasonable. The timeline's reasonable. They noted additional allies, platforms, materials. They are noted. They gave a concise explanation of the major tasks that needed to be implemented. The budget is good. It lines up. I feel that the project will build mutually beneficial relationships and create instances which may be potentially ongoing projects or ongoing relationships for this individual. They articulate well who their target audience is and how the completed project will aid and connect them to a greater degree with organizations, venues, and community outside of their existing network. I think the proposed project, when it's implemented, it will definitely assist in this applicant's career. Okay, I think I've covered it. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dee.
Sorry for taking so long.
No, you're fine.
It's just moving slowly.
I understand. Technology.
Mhm.
I think our next reader is Chris.
Yes. And I wanted to start with this individual's project summary because I think that it was well explained, and I wanted to highlight the last portion of it, that the wood press prints would essentially be used for a year-long fundraising campaign to heighten the community awareness of the county's nature preserve parks and people's pathways. I think that alone goes hand in hand with how the community engagement is going to be fulfilled, just because the amount of love and effort that's put back into the place that you call home is not only appreciated to the people around them, but also I think something that will feel fulfilling for this applicant. So I was very happy to see that. I think that the applicant's goals they feel really well planned. The work that's provided is a very good example of a high quality turnout, and the marketing and outreach feels feasible, and appears to also be well thought out for long and short-term goals. So I was very happy to see the explanation on that. The feasibility of the project feels reasonable, both for the timeline and for the finances. The project also feels really manageable for the people involved as well. So I am happy to see that there is a lot of time and effort put into that. And then I'd say the last tidbit would be in a portion of how will the project help them make progress towards their career goal. They stated that looking to the future, each successful campaign builds a history, and ultimately that history becomes a resume. And I think that that's strategic. I think as far as like the resume and portfolio, like this is a good pathway. As Dee was saying, that it will go to a higher degree. So I'm happy that the applicant is their short-term goals can affect and enhance their long-term once again. And so this will be a good project to see come to fruition. No.
Thank you, Chris. Any other comments? Okay. You can update your comments. Awesome. We have just 2 more applications. We're going to move to our next, and that is On-Ramp 2023 Willard. Our first reader is Chris. Chris, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Thank you for that.
You're
I didn't get too far, so that's good.
okay.
So I wanted to start with the project summary for Willard. And they stated that they're always searching for new ways to engage the community with their work and writing and illustrating children's books, because it has been a dream since childhood. I think that that's fantastic. And I think that connecting with other artists as such, because there are plenty in the state of Indiana that would be beneficial. So I would say start with reaching out with other individuals who have done the same, or people who are just starting off too. That wouldn't be a bad idea. And as far as the goals for this project, I think that the applicants' goals are identified and they feel achievable. So I think everything as far as their goals is going to be good. They've been fully addressed in comparison to the goals that are required. I also love that the applicants wildly passionate about mental health, leadership, and community outreach. I think that will be an advantage for their application. So I just hope that the applicant continues to keep that in mind as they have that stated. So that will be a huge plus on their end. The feasibility, the project goals feel achievable within the timeline and the deadline, and the finances also feel feasible as well. I enjoyed looking at the work on the applicant's website. I thought it was great. And the community engagement, I was very happy to hear that this applicant will be giving public readings for their book. I would say this is another one of those applications where I would love to see like the readings also be done at universities for illustration majors, or like even at like kindergartners and preschoolers. That will help with marketing, as well as kind of providing like an education piece for people who are looking to also get into this field. I think it just once again separates the applicant as an individual applying for where they utilize just their outreach and they play into their market. But I also think that having the experience of like kindergarten and preschools for application purposes, as far as reading there, I think that just would be a plus to see it on the application. Not that it is needed, but it would be nice to see. It's another thing I had here for the community engagement. So this is one. No, I think I just did more of a deep dive into how the university aspect would really benefit. But yeah. I mean, even that, like, that's just something that I would strongly recommend for the applicant to explore. Otherwise, I think the community engagement's already been achieved through them saying that they're going to do public readings. So I think that this applicant has a good application, and I'm excited to see how the rest of it turns out.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Our next reader is Dee.
Okay. The applicant has a good proposed project proposal. I do have a question. In your long-term career, creative career or creative business goal, it's very succinct. I would have liked more meat to it. What do you want to exactly accomplish with this? How will you implement your project and make it happen? You're saying that you have always wanted to be highly sought after, traveling the country for murals. Okay, well, give us a little bit more to go on in a narrative like that. But other than that, your project is defined very well. Your career goals and business goals are identified. The project's manageable. You've had experience with this type of work, so therefore it's realistic. And In the end, it will benefit your career. I think you could have explained a little bit better who your target audience is, but you have a wonderful idea. I question where you say book 3 readings. Where are you going to book them? You could mention 1 or 2, if not all. Mention the venues. When you stated get a copy into a library, it would have just been more beneficial to the readers, us, the jurors, to have had a bit more comprehensive explanation of your narrative. It would have been good to state the title, the subject matter, the storyline of the book, and the coloring book. And just give us a little bit more in-depth information. But I do see a better explanation in the feasibility column. So a lot of that, you need to mention some of it before you get all the way down to where your project's feasible or not. Your book has your book has an interesting storyline. The project's itinerary is very good as well. You have noted additional sourced labor, editor, and a printer. The materials, equipment, promotion, marketing, outreach, and community connections are also mentioned. The budget is in line with the projected expenses and the income totals. And your community engagement, you explain very well how you will implement that and how you how the completed project will give you connections outside of the existing networks that you currently have. It will help you, the project will also help you to build experience and relationships and ongoing opportunities that are beneficial to you. And there is one other thing. I have a tip for you. Self-publishing online resources is blurb.com and also lulu.com. All in all, I feel that this applicant's application is a very good one.
Awesome. Thank you for those resources, Dee.
Okay, thank you.
I think Dee was our last reader. Do we have any additional? Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. In addition to Dee's recommendations, also Ingram Spark is a great resource for self-publishing as well. Right now they have switched their platform to like free publishing, so it doesn't cost anything to put it out there and publish it and let it go. But also when you're looking into libraries and other avenues, that is one of the first places they look to collect your book. Other places they usually are more resistant because of like return policies and things like that. So just, that's another resource to consider. Yep.
Thank you, Thomas. Darren, did you have something to add?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I would
Chris,
say,
did you? Go ahead.
yes, I'm sorry. I would say to go off of what Dee said, just as like a final thing, I think the consistency of detail should go across each point of the application, where she had pointed out that the feasibility was good and the community engagement was good, but the first portion, I think all of it should really like tie in to each other to give like full context. That was something that I think I had missed, and then when she pointed out and I looked over it, I'm like, that would make the application just feel more consistent. And I just think that that's important to point out. So thank you for that. And yeah.
Thank you, Chris. I will allow everyone to update their comments. Awesome. We will move to our last and final application for today's panel, and that is On-Ramp 2023 Blevins Hinkle. Our first reader is Darren.
Yes. Pam wrote an application about communal singing experiences. And to me, this is community engagement. I think it's exciting. I thought it was a well-designed application. I think Pam has the experience now to make this project feasible. Pam wants to expand her reach of work to conferences and events and for event planners and event organizers. I would have liked to see a list of conferences maybe, or conference sources. One that comes to mind is the sales department from the Indianapolis Convention Center. I think they're the 16th largest convention center in the country. I hope Pam can make a connection here, because this would be a great source for her to get list of future conferences, so she could maybe tailor or create event communal singing for these conferences. Another place might be hotels, but large hotels that have conferences, but I can really see communal singing in the convention center with the tall ceilings and the big rooms. Her contract work, she wants to contract work with event organizers. And she also wants to search ways to make memorable and unique experiences. So again, this is community engagement. Pam is approaching the retirement age, and she's been a full-time arts administrator. I'm sure she has plenty of experience working with and creating a network that would make this possible. And she has a robust musical career already. Pam's interested in ramping up her creative career on many levels. One is searching for ways to create live events. I keep repeating this, engaging the community. Pam wants to host an event for this on-ramp grant. She needs to cover the venue, rental, technology, insurance, photography, and videography. I believe this project is feasible, and I hope Pam can start making a list of ways to start marketing this event. Thank you. I'm done.
Sorry.
Go, sorry.
One thing, Thomas or Darren, I think that the Visit Indy Destination Experience team is the sales team for the convention center.
Oh, okay.
So,
Visit. What was
so
that?
I'm just giving that extra resource so that she realizes that they're one and the same.
Visit Indy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, go ahead, Thomas.
Thank you. Yeah, this was a great application. I also enjoyed viewing the artistic resources that were provided. One resource that could really help the applicant get out there is NACA. There are two different NACAs that exist. One is for like nonprofit housing resources, and then the other one is for it's like the National Association of Campus Activities or something like that. So being able to acquire resources to be able to pay for like a membership for that would put the applicant in the view of colleges and universities who may want these types of workshops and communal activities would be really good. And I feel like that would meet her mission, especially like as she pursues retirement. This will be a way to have consistent income while also still operating in the passion and gift. I thought that the budget and the projected cash expenses, I thought all of that matched up pretty well. I appreciated the 5-step design thinking process, which seems to be, to me, after viewing her materials, the way that she operates in these communal spaces as well. which is very effective. I didn't have objections to the feasibility of the project. It seems to me that a lot has been done in the community with little compensation. So I can only imagine what she can do with, an increased amount of income coming in for those types of projects. And as Darren said, community engagement is up and throughout this project. So there's no doubt about that, that the community will be impacted. So.
Thank you, Thomas, for that feedback. Do we have any additional comments or viewpoints?
Yes. I feel that there are many mental benefits to communal singing. Another stream of revenue might be in the health and rehabilitative industries for this applicant. And another way to increase her visibility, and I'm quite aware of On-Ramp 2023 Hinkle. She's been rather prominent in the Indianapolis community. And I have seen her performances myself. And she could possibly try to book occasional appearances on area television shows to help her public presence and profile. And for her, in addition, as for all of the applicants, I would advise for marketing and promotion to ramp up their social media area and try to get on area television shows wherever you are, the type of shows that are like indie style, lifestyle live, and also to talk with podcasters, do interviews with them, because podcasters really reach a wide audience. Okay, I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Dee.
You're welcome.
One thing, just as I was furiously typing notes, Thomas, you mentioned something. Could you say the name of what you mentioned again? It's something about appearing on lists for like universities as like a potential vendor.
Yeah, it's called NACA, NACA. And let me look up the acronym. I think it's the National Association of Campus Activities.
Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's all I needed. We can flesh out that after the fact. Thank you. That's just for note-taking purposes.
Thank you. Did anyone else have anything to add? Okay. Well, that was all of our applications for today. Thank you all to our panelists for your lovely feedback and suggestions. This concludes our discussions for today, but a couple notes to our participating artists, cohort members. One is that do not furiously get to your email and start emailing me. What we're going to do is we're going to review the comments from our panelists today, and Eric and I are going to decide what is required for you to modify. While all of these suggestions and feedback were great, not everything is required. Some of this was just for your own professional development and for project development purposes, but Eric and I will decide what is actually required for you to modify before your project can proceed. Okay, so we will be in contact very soon. Righty. Again, thank you for viewing your panel today, and this concludes our discussion.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Jordan.
Yes, hold on one